Okay, hi everybody. In a while I will turn the camera to my face, but this was an iconic view of the place where I am now, so here we are. Good afternoon or good morning everybody, depends on the different parts of the world you are looking this live Facebook walk of through eternity. This is Guia. Just 1 second, I'm breaking the law. Okay, this is Guia. And because now we have the mask is mandatory. It has been mandatory since the last weekend. So hello everybody. Last time we saw each other, I was in my hometown, Bologna. Now I'm back to Rome and I'm speaking from the Quirinal Square. I am right on the top of the Quirinal Hill. The Quirinal Hill is just one of the 7 ancient hills of Rome, the highest one. And we are going to discover during this tour some of the layers of the Roman history. I see that you are looking at this video from every part of the world. Once more, hello everybody. So I am right in front of the Quirinal Palace. The image that I've shown you before with the 3 waving flags is right on the top of the Quirinal Palace. And during this tour, we mustn't forget that Rome was like a huge lasagna. So we are going to discover several layers of the Roman history, passing from this place to Trevi Fountain and to Piazza di Pietra. So when we say Quirinal, we mean one of the 7 ancient hills of Rome, the highest one of them. And so it's clear that, this place has been related with the Roman history since the very beginning. The name of this place is due to the god Quirinus. Quirinus was actually the god in which the Romans, the ancient Romans, identified the founder of the city, Romulus, after his death. You know that Rome was founded by Romulus and Remus, the 2 twins. Romulus was the one that survived because he killed his brother. He was the first king of Rome, and later he disappeared in the Roman form. Ever since, the Romans identified Romulus with the god Quirinus. And at some point, at the very beginning of the Roman history, someone dedicated to him an altar right on this hill, and later a temple. So since the 3rd century before Christ, we have a temple dedicated to Quirinus right here on the top of the Quirinal Hill. So Quirinus, Quirinal Hill. And later, during the imperial time, this place became a place for very wealthy families. The members of the Flavian family at the private domus right here on the Quirinal Hill became a place for huge religious temples right on this side of the hill in what is the remains of the Colonna Gardens. We have the remains, sorry, I need to change the orientation of my camera. Right behind this building, there were the huge remains. There are the huge remains of the temple dedicated to Serapis by the Emperor Caracalla, and later, where you now see this beautiful 1700 building, there used to be the bath built by the Emperor Constantine, which was one of the largest imperial thermal baths built in Rome. And we have some remains of the archaeological period, of the ancient Roman Empire, which is the fountain right in front of you. I'm gonna walk just in order to provide you with a better view of this gorgeous fountain, which is decorated with these massive statues that represented 2 of the most important kids of Rome, Castor and Pollux, the 2 Dioscuri. Dioscuri in Greek means the god's kids. Castor and Pollux, according to the Greek mythology, were sons of Jupiter. They were born from Jupiter and from a mortal woman. Jupiter had turned himself into a in order to start the relationship with this mortal woman, Leda. So the 2 twins scenes that you can see right here were born from swan eggs. And they were very loved by the Romans since at the very beginning of the Roman history, when the Romans started their expansion, they started to fight against the people that live in the neighborhood. These two guys, Castor and Pollux, were seen right in the center of the Roman Forum, watering their horses and, spreading the news of this very important victory. So ever since, Castor and Pollux became a sort of patron gods of the Roman expansion in the basin of the Mediterranean Sea. You see that these statues are massive. We are not sure whether they belong to the bath built by Constantine or to the decoration of the temple dedicated to Serapis. But anyway, they've always been here. In the Middle Age, the statues were here and they were outdoor. I mean, they were not excavating, they were already on the top of the hill, and that explains why during the Middle Age this place changed its name. It was no longer the Quirinal Hill, but it became Monte Cavallo, the hill of the horses. You can see the two horses pretty massive on the top of this fountain. Consider that during the Middle Age the horses were turned in the opposite side. They were looking toward the Roman Forum, and the fountain was arranged in this beautiful way with the two horses, the two kids, and the obelisk that comes from the tomb of the Emperor Augustus, the first Roman emperor, was arranged in this way, as you can read on the inscription, only at the beginning of 1800. So during the Middle Age, this place was gradually abandoned, and during the Renaissance, it became a very quietful place on the top of the hill. Right in front of us, we have the Palazzo della Consulta, which is the seat of the authority in charge for solve the controversial about the Italian Constitution. I was telling you that during the Renaissance, this place became a very quietful place for meditation, both religious and philosophical. For instance, right in this area, the philosopher Pomponio Leto founded this Neoplatonic academy. A little bit farther on this side, there was the church where Michelangelo met with Vittoria Colonna and the spirituals in order to have Christian meditations. And you can see that we are right on the top of the hill. From this viewpoint, you can see the beautiful landscape of Rome, the skyline of Rome right at the bottom of the hill this side. In a while, you will also see the majestic dome of St. Peter's Church. So we are right exactly on the top of a hill, a place that was very quiet during the Renaissance period, a place that was used mostly for, building vineyards, and place, where people could contemplate the nature. Here it is. Down there you can see the dome of St. Peter. So, quietful place, vineyards, and at the end of 15 vineyards that belong to several cardinals, Cardinal Carafa, for instance, or Cardinal d'Este, the same cardinal that had the beautiful Villa d'Este built in Tivoli. At the end of 1500, one pope decided to buy a piece of land right here on the top of the Quirinal in order to arrange this beautiful place. This place, which is, the Quirinal Palace. This palace was started at the end of 1500 by Ottaviano Mascherino. The original idea was to create a sort of leisure place for the Pope during, during the summer season. But later the Pope decided to enlarge this place, and since the beginning of 1600, the Quirinal Palace became right exactly the Pope's royal palace, the place where the Pope King lived. And from this place, right on the top of the hill with, Rome at the bottom, he ruled the city. Of course, the Pope went on attending St. Peter. They went to St. Peter for Christmas and Easter celebration, but they lived right here. The balcony that you see right behind my shoulder, this one, is a very nice balcony. It was realized by Bernini. You can see that right at the bottom of the balcony there are two very important people for Rome. You should be familiar with them. They are Peter and Paul, the two Christian patron saints of Rome, because the Pope used to live right here. And this balcony is related to the election of the new Pope. Of course, now you know that when the Pope dies, the election of the new Pope takes place in the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. The cardinals gather there and they vote in order to choose the new one. But I've just shown you a few minutes ago how far is St. Peter from here. So there was no point actually in moving once more to the Vatican in order to choose the new Pope and then come back here just in order to have the proclamation and, you know, just in order to start the new papacy. So when one of the first popes that lived here, his name was Paul V, decided to move definitely to the Vatican, he decided to arrange a chapel that has right exactly the same size of the Sistine Chapel in this building. You can see the part that is a little bit higher. Okay, this is the part where we have not the Sistine but the Pauline Chapel. Pauline Chapel that was built at the beginning of 1600 with the same size of the Sistine Chapel. During 17 and 1800 up to 1870, the Pauline Chapel in the Quirinal Palace was the place where the conclave, where the election of the new popes took place. And now you know that the papal election is announced through a puff of white smoke. But here we don't have a chimney. So in which way was announced to the Romans the election of the new pope? Can you see the green shutters right on the top of the main door of the Quirinal Palace? Well, when the Pope died, a real temporary wall was built right in front of these shutters. The conclave took place. They elected the new Pope. And when the new Pope was ready to appear in public, the workers started to dismantle the wall in order to leave room for the appearance of the new Pope that usually delivers his first blessing right exactly from that window. So this is a very important window because it was the window of the Pope. It was also a window that give access to a small room, and we are going to speak about the small room a little bit later. But here you can read right on the main door of this building that this building was completed by Pope Paul V, which should have been a pretty megalomaniacal guy, considering that he is the same Pope that has his name recording on the entablature of St. Peter's Church. And this is, a place decorated with Christian decorations. We had St. Peter, St. Paul, and the Virgin Mary right on the top. No doubt whatever that this was a perfect place for a pope. Later, the Quirinal Palace became the seat of the Italian royal family. You know that on 1870 Rome was conquered by the Italian army, so ever since the Pope took a safe place in the Vatican, considering himself a prisoner, and the Savoia family entered the Quirinal. For some decades this was the Italian royal palace with the Savoia family living right here, and since 1948 the Quirinal Palace is the official residence of the President of the Italian Republic. So to all intent and purpose, this is the entrance of the Italian White House. You see flags on the balcony, but the most important flags are right there on the highest part of the tower. This is the Torino, the little tower of the Quirinal Palace. There is just a dining room in this small tower, but the view is something amazing. And right there on the top, you can see the three flags that are related to the President of the Italian Republic. You have the Italian flag right in the center. On the right-hand side, the blue flag of the European Union. And on the left-hand side, the personal flag of the President of the Italian Republic. This flag is, hoisted only on the Quirinal Palace, and it means that the President is in Rome. today. So it's related to the presence of the president in Rome. And now we are going to leave this place, giving a glance just all around. This, for instance, is the Scuderie del Quirinale. What is Scuderie del Quirinale? Scuderie del Quirinale used to be the stables in 1700 when the Quirinal Palace was completed. Thanks to a great refurbishment work started 30 years ago, now the Scuderie del Quirinale are one of the most amazing places for temporary exhibitions in Rome. Up to the end of August, here we had the beautiful temporary exhibition dedicated to Raphael in order to celebrate the 500th anniversary of his death. It was a very unlucky exhibition, unfortunately, because of COVID-19. It was open only for 3 days, and then we had the lockdown, and the exhibition reopened 3 months later, but anyway, it was considered one of the central celebration of this great artist. So now we are going to leave the Quirinal Palace and we will go down towards Trevi Fountain. We are just leaving the top of the Quirinal Hill, so we are just walking downtown using this beautiful stairway in order to take Via della Dattaria. Via della Dattaria was the part of the Quirinal Hill where there were all the offices when the Pope was the king. So basically the Quirinal Palace represented the central part of the administration of the papal state. And as I was telling you, this building was exploited in this way up to 1870, September 20th to be precise, the Italian army entered Rome, and in a few months Rome became the capital of the Italian kingdom. When the king arrived to Rome, he found that the Quirinal Palace was completely empty. The Pope in the meantime had moved to the Vatican, and the only things that he had left in the Quirinal were 2 huge Chinese vases, this high, okay, too high to be brought to the Vatican, and just 3 paintings. So the king had to collect, furnitures and decorations from all the palaces that represented the small state in which Italy was divided before the unification. And but anyway, now the Quirinal Palace is an amazing place filled with every kind of work of art. We have little hidden gems such as a beautiful chapel decorated by Guido, which was one of the most famous painters in 1600, and one of the places of this palace that I love more is what used to be the huge hall where the Pope received the foreign ambassadors. Now it's called the Hall of the Corazzieri. It's a huge room decorated with a fantastic fresco that represent all the foreign ambassadors that were in Rome during the papacy of Paul V, the beginning of 1600, and it is amazing to see that there were already in Rome people that came from Japan and the Middle East. Now I'm turning the camera. We are going down along Via della Dattaria. We have left the area where all the offices that were related to the papal state, and in a while we will reach the area of Trevi Fountain. Can you recall the balcony from which, the election of the new Pope was announced on the facade of the Quirinal Palace? This balcony is related to the smallest room of the palace. Trust me, it's even smaller than my bedroom, but it was a very important room that was related not only to the beginning of a new papacy, but also to the end of the papacy itself. because that was the small room in which the body of the Pope was prepared for the funeral ceremony when the Pope passed away. And one of the most important points of this procedure was that the Pope's heart was taken away from the Pope's body and was preserved in a funerary vase that was not buried with the Pope, but was kept in a church of Rome, the church of Santi Vincenzo and Atanasio, that's not far from here. I know that this thing can sound creepy now, but take in account that it was right exactly the same thing that was made in France. The heart of the King of France were kept in special places in the Basilica of Saint Denis. So probably the Pope thought that the same thing could be made in Rome. So we have this church that is not far from Trevi Fountain that contains, that still keeps 22 papal hearts. Creepy, unusual, these hearts belong to popes that ruled Rome between the end of 1500, Sixtus V, up to Leo XIII, that passed away when Rome was already the capital of the Italian kingdom. In a while we will approach the church and the fountain. The church is dedicated to the saints Vincenzo and Anastasio. It's right here around the corner. The facade is filled with columns. Okay, here we are. This is the Church of Saints Vincenzo and Anastasio, built at the orders of the Cardinal Mazzarino. You can see a lot, sorry guys, there was a car, a lot of columns on the facade of this facade, and this is the reason for which the Romans called this church Il Canneto, the cane thicker. And this is the church where we have 22 papal hearts still kept right here. But of course, this square is very famous because of Trevi Fountain. The situation now due to COVID-19 is very, very different from, the crowded place that we used to have here up to last year. And I know that this place is one of the most iconic images of Rome. This fountain is basically the translation in 1700 terms of a Roman triumph. The protagonist of this triumph is the water itself. So you have to imagine that the architect that won the artistic contest for building this fountain thought of a Roman triumphal arch like the one of Constantine close to the Colosseum, and set this arch right in front of this building, and then imagine a sort of triumph where the god of Shenos is arriving right in the center of the city on his beautiful chariot that is sharp-shaped. Beautiful fountain, iconic image of Rome. It took more or less 35 years in order to complete the fountain, and one architect was not enough. I don't want to tell you the heartbreaking story of Nicola Salvi, that was the first architect involved in the building of the fountain. The poor thing never had the satisfaction to see the fountain's finish, since it passed away, probably poisoned by the toxic lead fumes he had inhaled during the building of the fountain. So two architects, Nicola Salvi and Pannini, for completing the fountain, and three popes. None of them, renounced to the idea of having their name carved on the fountain, from Clement XII to Clement XIII. The fountain was inaugurated 3 different times, each one during each papacy. Since it was not complete, the statues were made out of cartoon just in order to make the inauguration ceremony. And finally, this fountain was completed in the second half of 1700. So the God of Chance, one of the most iconic images of Rome, beautiful set for movies, Sweet Life for instance, beautiful set for fashion event. A couple of years ago, since the Fendi fashion maison had paid for the restoration of this fountain, the fashion show of a Fendi maison took place right here. There was a translucent passageway right on the surface of the water, and the models seemed to walk right here right on the surface of the water. It was literally, something amazing. We are no longer allowed because COVID-19 rules to throw our coins right in the fountain, but you can see that there are still a lot of people that want to take pictures of this iconic fountain, which is, by the way, the final point of a Roman aqueduct, which was the only source of clean water during the Renaissance in Rome. And among the people that were involved in the project of build this fountain, there was also a very famous architect, of course, long before Nicola Salvi. One of the first architects that thought to be a fountain right here was Gian Lorenzo Bernini. You know that Gian Lorenzo Bernini was a papal architect, so he worked for the Pope, he was involved in the building of St. Peter and several other things. Well, the Pope told to Bernini, I need a new fountain, write this on the cross point. Trevi means the cross point of three different roads. I need a new fountain and I want to see it from my palace, from the Quirinal Palace. And Bernini obeyed. If you look right there, you can see the Torino, the little tower right in front, right on the top of the Quirinal Palace. So the Pope could actually see the fountain from the highest part of his palace. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we can go on this way with our route. We are leaving for a while 1700 Rome. In 1700, as I was telling you before, Rome was already one of the most important cities in Europe and was still ruled by the Pope King. So the Pope was the man that decided everything in Rome. On 1870, when the Italian army arrived here, the Pope withdrew in the Vatican and was replaced by the Italian king. This entailed that in a range of few years arrived to Rome a lot of new people that were part of the Italian administration of the city. And even the most important Roman noble families tried to update their palaces to the architectural style of the new emerging class. Of course, this architectural style was the Liberty style that, in France is called Art Nouveau. And it was not only an architectural style, but was also a decorative style that included decoration for buildings, paintings, wallpapers, furniture. So it was a kind of new artistic current that arrived to Rome with the Italian kingdom in some way. And right here, not far from Trevi Fountain, making a short diversion from the touristic route to Piazza di Pietra and to the Pantheon, we have one of the hidden gems of the Liberty style in Rome, which is the Galleria Sciarra. The Galleria Sciarra was the interior part of a huge Roman building that belonged to one of the oldest and most important Roman noble families. Well, the owner of this building, the noble Maffeo Barberini di Colonna di Sciarra, so the name of several very important families, just in order to remark his importance, decided to hire a new architect for restyling the interior part of his massive palace right here in this area of the city. And he made this because he needed a modern building. He needed a modern building since he was a publisher. He published different kind of newspapers, And he needed a very modern segment for his different kind of newspapers. So the Galleria Sciarra basically was decorated in a very update style for this reason. And we are about to enter. Yes, it's open.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
And as I was telling you, this is one of the hidden gems of Rome. I'm going to turn my camera. You can see wrought iron and glass everywhere, literally everywhere. You have the same kind of architectural style in the beautiful galleries that you can see in the center of Milan or in the center of Naples. They were made all in the same period. And you can see that here the decoration